To start the Dreamland mini album, we're going to start with the chipboard cover. I'm actually going to wrap it the way that Tammy Merrill on the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations showed the on her website or on the Facebook page, a different way to wrap your chipboard. So I'm going to do that also. To get started, you're going to need 3 pieces of chipboard. The chipboard measures 5.5 by 10, so you'll need 2 of those for the front, one for the front, one for the back cover. You're going to need a spine piece that's 2.5 by 10. And to wrap those pieces, I'm using the Artisan cardstock in ivory. And you're going to need 2 at 7.5 by 12 and 1 at 4.5 by 12. Okay. Now, when you do this, we're going to wrap the front and the back separately. And then we're going to go back and do the spine and attach it to our front and back. So you do need to put some adhesive on the back of your front and back cover. We're going to go ahead and take one of these 7.5 by 12 pieces, and we want a 1-inch border on all 4 sides. Okay, so you can either eyeball it, but I'm going to use my ruler here to make sure I get a 1-inch border. Is that 1 inch or is it this side? Nope, that was right. Okay, and I'm also going to use the grid on my board. So about right here, I should be able to tell. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and take the backing off of the score tape. And I did burnish it down before. When you put your score tape on, you got to burnish it a little bit to get a good stick to your chipboard. So I'm going to line it up with 1-inch borders. And just lay it down. And let's just burnish it to make sure it's got sticks real well. Now you can either do one at a time, do one complete front cover or back cover and then go back, but I'm just gonna instead of doing wrapping one and then going to do the other one, I want to get all of my chipboard pieces laid out on the cardstock. So now this is going to be the other piece of chipboard that measured 5.5 by 10. I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing. I did a little piecework on my score tape. I do really like the sheets that she sells. It just saves a lot of time and it's worth it. She has the 8.5 by 11 sheets and she has 6 by 6 sheets. Alright, so line it up with my ruler here, 1 inch and 1 inch. Lay it down. And I'm just going to press down real well. Now I'm going to save this spine for later. I'm going to do the front and back first. So we want to go ahead and I lift up my chipboard and bend it so it has a natural fold. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder and I just want to make sure that it's nice and snug up against there. And the other end, I just stand it up so it gets the natural bend where it needs to be. I don't like this one for that. I like this one. And I'm just going to bring it around and continue to burnish it. And do the same on the sides. Once you stand it up and get that fold, go back with your and I'm going to do the last side the same way. Run my scoring tool and my bone folder along that edge, and I go ahead and fold it over and burnish again. Okay, I am going to miter my corners, and you can miter them however you like best. Tammy does like a squared off edge. I still use my little tool that I have here. I really like this, and I'm just gonna miter that piece off. Do that on all four. The thing I like about this is it's the perfect measurement each time, so that you don't see any of the chipboard coming through, because there's a little bit of an edge there or border that we leave. So we have this one done. You know what? I should just do the other one while I'm at it too. So now I'll do that with this one. Just repeat the process. Bring it up and over. Varnish. Now, like I said, this is the artisan cardstock, and it is a little bit more durable than perhaps some of the other cardstock that's out there. So do be careful if you're not using artisan, that when you burnish this, that you don't go too crazy. I don't think you can be as firm with some of the other papers as you can with this. And one more. So this album, as I'm making it, I have the intention of making a box to go with it that I turn into what looks like a bed. But I've already started, and it's kind of causing me some grief, so I don't know how successful I will be. I'm not giving up yet, but I had to walk away from it because it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, or not what is in my head anyway. So again, we're going to miter all four corners. So that's why I'm making this book the size that I am. It's with the thinking that it's going to go in a box in the shape of a bed, so it's longer, not as wide. All right, so now we're going to wrap each individual cover, front and back. So notice there's no spine in between the two. We're just going to go ahead and bring these over on all four sides. So when you do that, I use a combination of score tape and art glitter glue. So the score tape is going to go on the perimeter of the chipboard, and I'm just going to use 1/4 inch for that. So that it sticks right on along those edges, and then we'll put some on the paper. And then not only do I put the score tape on the paper part, I also fill in with some glue. Okay, like I said, this is 1/4. A lot of times I use the 3/8 inch score tape for this. So now I'll go along my paper and go right up to the very edge. A lot of people put the score tape on before they miter. I don't want to waste any. Sometimes I do, I guess. And then I'm going going to do that on the other one too while I have the score tape out. Now this is the first time I've made my cover like Tammy just introduced. I really like the looks of it, and I like that it lays flat with the pages, so that's why I'm giving it a shot. It has piqued my interest. So this was not my idea, but I'm definitely using it. Okay. Okay, and then again, do it on the outside or the perimeter of the paper too. Up to the very edge. Alrighty. Now some people prefer kind of have their own habit of wrapping, where some people do the long sides first, some people do the short sides first. I do the long sides first. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong, it's just that that's the way I've always done it. Okay, so it's a good idea to kind of burnish that score tape down. So it's got a strong stick. If you're going to go to the time of making a book, it's important that you have it be durable and stay together real well, and take your time and make sure that you have a new blade on your cutter, or you don't want any rough edges. Take the time to have it look nice and neat, so that if you gift it, or even if you keep it for yourself, it looks very professional. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some glue along the chipboard side. And that kind of helps the paper stick nicely on the edge. I'm running out of glue, but I have another bottle nearby. And I'm going to fill in this part with art glitter glue too. Okay. I will remove the backing, and I need to bring this up a little bit so it doesn't get stuck. Come on. And this one. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring it up and over, and then I'll burnish it real well. So just make sure it's got a real smooth finish here, and go along the edge also, so that you have a nice crisp edge. Let's go ahead and do the opposite side. So let's run our bead of glue. Oops. I'm going to use every last bit of this glue in this bottle. I have noticed that when you use this glue, you get every last ounce out. You know how sometimes you get to the end of something and you kind of waste the last little bit? This, I seem to get every amount of glue out of that bottle. So that's kind of nice. Okay. Bring it up and over. Go ahead and do your burnishing. On the edge also. and do the two ends. So then you'll do this to both pieces of, or both covers, front and back. And then we're going to go back and work on our spine piece, or the centerpiece. Okay, so now I need to tuck in these edges on these corners so that they don't stick out, and so that the chipboard is covered. So I just use my nail to poke that in, and then I'm going to bring it up and over. And I burnish, and I'm going to burnish the edge. Nice and smooth and crisp. Last side here. The purpose of this book is because the book reminds me of nighttime reading with your little kids. I'm designing it with that in mind, like thinking about having some time with your child to like reflect on books or write down what they liked about the book or their favorite parts. So I'm thinking that I'm going to be incorporating some solid sheets of paper for writing also, not just places for pictures, but there will be places for pictures also. You'll see, I'm sure you, by the time you see this book, there will be a walkthrough out also. I actually don't know when I design this, like right now, I don't know what it's going to look like because I just kind of design as I go. Okay, so now do the other cover just like that, the other 5.5 by 10 piece. So front and back cover are done. They've both been wrapped. We're going to set those to the side. So now for the spine piece, you still want to lay it down so that you have a 1-inch border on all sides. We are actually going to wrap the short sides on this because it's the sides, like the wings, that are going to attach to the front and back cover. So the first thing you want to do though is to continue to find that natural burnish, or that natural, or that fold or bend, and use your scoring tool or burnishing tool, and we're going to actually fold it over like we did on the other one and burnish. Okay, do that on the other side. Fold it over, continue to burnish. Bend the sides. So nothing new yet, everything's the same as what we did for the covers. Now, this is where Tammy really stressed the burnishing parts. So I'm going to probably burnish a little bit more than I normally do, just because I want to make sure that I do it right. And she's thought that, I mean, she really talked about how she burnished a lot. So I'm going to switch that one out and just make sure that everything is burnished real well. Okay. And the last side. So now you cut your corners different on this one. So you'll notice that there's squares that we have that have been formed. We're going to cut at a diagonal from one edge to the other. Like so. One corner to the other, just in that squared off area. And now we will glue these down. the short sides. Okay, we're going to leave this two wings open so that we can attach it to the book. So let's go ahead and get our score tape. And let's do the short ends. And I'm going to put some on the center here of the paper. Okay. All right, so when we do the ends, we're just going to bring it over like so. And we want to make sure that it folds real well and that we're creasing it where it's going to be right here on the edge. Now I will tell you that Tammy also went backwards and scored like so, just so it's a little bit more flexible. Okay, and so it's very defined after our scoring and burnishing. Okay, so let's adhere the two short ends. So when it comes over, it's going to be like this. Did she? I'm going to put glue here too. I don't remember if she did or not, but I'm putting it in the corners there. Oh, I hate it when I can't get the backing off. There we go. And we're going to bring that up and over. And I'm going to go ahead and do the edge. Let's do the other end, and then we're going to attach this to the front and back. Okay, so now it's time to attach the front and back covers. So even though it looks weird, we're turning it upside down to attach it. And we're going to be placing one cover on this side, like so. And it is raised a little bit, and that's okay. And then we're going to attach the other one to the other wing flap on this side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put adhesive on this side. And I'd rather have too much than not enough. And it's going to go right up to that crease that we have. And flip it over and burnish. Make sure it's sticking. Ooh, did I screw up? Nope. Thought I went through the paper, but I didn't. And let's do the other side. You know, this really does go a lot faster, I think. Maybe not. Maybe. I know that I'm really looking forward to the book laying flat, though. Like I said, I'd rather have a little bit too much here than not enough when it comes to the adhesive. I want to make sure it sticks. We're going to go right up to that chipboard piece. Make sure the top and bottom are lined up so that the paper doesn't show out the top and the bottom. Burnish it on the inside. And there you go. So it does look a little bit different. I'm going to burnish this a little bit more here. It does have a little bit different look on the outside. Okay, but you can see that it's going to lay flat. Look at that. Okay, I'm totally excited. So now let's talk about the inside. And how many pages? Now, right now I'm thinking 7 because there's 7 days of the week. So let me go do some brainstorming, and I'll be back with the what do you call it? Hinges. The inside, to cover the spine and to kind of have the wings off to the side, I just cut 6 by 9 7/8. You don't have to go 6, but I like to make sure there's good coverage right here. So this is what we're going to do with this piece, is put it right here. I've already put score tape on the back. And again, you don't have to do it 6 inches across. You could do it a little bit shorter. So the score tape that I have on the back here is 1 inch, so it's going to take me a little bit longer to take the backing off because it's not one big sheet. And then we'll just center it onto our book. And then we'll place our spine. Now, the spine, I ended up doing 4 pages instead of more than that. Couple reasons. The size of my spine is 2.5 inches, so that affected it. Also, you can use front and back for different days instead of doing a page per day. And because I don't know who I'm going to give this to, and so I didn't want to put extra pages in if I didn't need them. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to put all these pages in and then not use the book, or I don't know. It numbers wise is mainly why I chose 4. Sometimes I can get too many pages, I think, but that's totally just me. And that just flipped over, you little stinker. Okay, so let's just center this, and we want it a little bit of a border at the bottom, and there'll be a little bit of a border at the top because we did it 9 7/8. And nice. Let's go ahead and burnish that really well. And we're going to make sure that we get into the creases or the so the book can open and close. It'll be firm, you know, tight at first. So this is where we need to gently rub your bone folder in here. Okay. And now this side. Be gentle, you don't want to rip through your paper. Okay, like so. So now it's time for the hinge mechanism right here. And like I said, I ended up going with 4 pages. So you can adjust your spine as needed if you want it to have more pages. But for the hinge, I used an 8" by 9 13/16 inch high paper. So 9 7/8 is what my pages will be, but I wanted the hinge to be 1/16 inch smaller so that the pages fit on nicely without having to like struggle to get them on. So when I say 9 13/16, that's one line before the 9 7/8, if you need to know that. Okay, so that's what I did. The scoring, I've already scored mine and went ahead and did some burnishing, but you start at 1 inch and then you go to 1 1/4. So then you're going to go every 1/2 inch after that. So here's what I did: 1, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4. See a pattern here? 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4. Go to 6 1/4, 6 3/4, and then 7, because I want that 1/4 inch edge, and then I tuck the rest underneath. Okay, so after 5 3/4, I think I said 6. No. After 5 3/4, you go to 6 1/4, then 6 3/4, then 7. Okay, so then you're going to burnish your score marks. So what we do for the hinge, and for those of you who don't know, there are other tutorials out there that are probably going to be more specific than this one. You have 2 1/2 inch pieces that go together to form a hinge, like so. So once I find those, the center, I've burnished it forward and backward. So I have the 1 inch, then I have that 1/4 inch space. Okay. And then my hinges start. So 2 1/2 inches pieces together, then you have a 1/2 inch for the gusset. Then 2 1/2 inch pieces together, then you have a 1/2 inch gusset. 2 1/2 inches together, a gusset, 2 1/2 inches together, then you have 1/4, and then you have that 1 inch piece that we're going to tuck behind. So I'm going to go through and I glue my hinge pieces together now with the art glitter glue. I used to use score tape, but I changed my other mind, and so now I like to use the art glitter glue. So I'm going to place my bead of glue on that hinge. I'm going to squeeze them together. Burnish it. Right now I'm just using my hands, but you could obviously use your burnishing tool. Okay. So now you skip one and you go to the next the 2 1/2 inches that are together to form your hinge. And I just burnish that forward and backward. So then the next 1/2 inch was your gusset, so you're going to place glue in the next to make the next piece. Squeeze those puppies together. I pinch it. Next one's the gusset, and so then we're going to glue our last hinge together, the last 2 1/2 inch pieces. And pinch them together. Okay, so there's your 4 hinges. It is nice to have 1/2 inch gussets so that you can do more embellishing and have more pop-ups and stuff like that. So we have 1/2 inch gussets, or excuse me, 1/4 inch on each end. So I'm going to take that 1 inch piece and wrap it towards the back and glue it down so that you have that 1/4 inch border. Okay, so I will put glue on that 1 inch piece and wrap it behind. Okay. Go ahead and burnish that. Okay, and we need to do the same thing to the other side. Makes me nervous when I see this. There's more of a space up here than down here. It means something's not quite even. Crud. You won't notice it once the book is put together, but I hate that. And burnish. So I hope that I don't have one side, like the top, way thinner than the bottom. Sometimes you have a little bit of, you're off just a hair. Okay. And so that's going to go in the center like so. And yep, I do see a difference. Son of a gun. I'll do that. I'd rather have the mistake more towards the bottom than the top. Sometimes I must have got off just a hair. Okay, and so now I'm going to glue this using the art glitter glue onto that centerpiece, and then it'll be time for the page construction. As I'm showing you the pages and how to make each of the pages, I already ended up putting my book together. I got sick and had no voice, and so I went ahead and made the book, and now I'm just redoing the construction of the pages to show you how to do it. So the paper that you'll see me use is not the artisan cardstock, so if by some weird chance it were to crack or whatever, that is not, it's just some scrap paper that I have. So we're going to start by doing the inside cover, which are 2 flaps that hold this little booklet that I still have to decorate, and this back page, which is just a basic pocket. So what I do on my videos is, rather than type everything up for measurements, which takes me way too long, in the summer maybe I can do it when I don't teach, but I just write down on sticky notes the measurements you're going to need. So you can either freeze your video, or you can write it down and go back, whatever, but here are the measurements you need. For the first inside front cover, you're going to need 2 that measure 5 3/8 by 4 1/2, and the inside back cover, that pocket, was 1 piece that is 4 by 6 3/8. So we're going to start by the inside front cover, and those are the 2 pieces that we're going to end up trimming to be like triangular pieces. So let's see, on the 4 1/2 inch side, we are going to have 2 score marks. This is the wrong one. Gotta find the right scoring tool. There we go. Is that it? I don't think that's right. Hold on, I'll just get a different one. Okay. On the 4 1/2 inch side at the top of your scoreboard, you're going to score at 1/2 and at 3/4. That was 1/2 and 3/4. Now, because we're doing that, we're going to have a little bit of space so that you can stick a booklet inside of there. So I'm going to have you do that to both pieces. 4 1/2 at the top, 1/2, 3/4. Okay. Now, you are going to burnish those, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's go ahead and do that back pocket so that we get our scoring out of the way. With your your 6 3/8 inch piece at the top, we're going to go ahead and score at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So I'll do 1/2, have the 4 inch side at the top, do a 1/2, turn it one more time and do 1/2. So you have 3 score marks. Being as I have that piece in my hand, I'll go ahead and do that one first. You do want to burnish your score marks on all 3 sides. To prepare the pocket, there are little squares at the corner from your overlap of your score marks. Go ahead and cut those at an angle. And I am going to taper the top just a little bit. And that becomes your pocket. Now when you glue your pocket down, you stick the the bottom, and then, that's not true, the 2 sides in first, and then bring up the bottom, and you're going to glue that on your back cover. Now you do this before you have any designer paper or decorative paper in your book. Like I said, I had to make mine with no voice, so this would not be covered, and I would just glue the 1/2 inch sides and place it down at the bottom. Then you can go back and do your matting. Okay, so that's that back pocket. Now what you need to do for these, if you want the triangle, this is 5 1/4, and we want to find the halfway mark. So I'm just going to use my Tim Holtz ruler. you place that 0 in the center, and so that you have the same amount of space on either side, and that's how you mark. So it's not quite at, so about 2.5, looks like about 2 1/8 is the halfway mark. And I'm just going to put a little pencil mark. And I'll do that to the other piece as well. This one you don't really have to measure. You can just line it up with this one to make sure that they're the same. And I'll just put a little pencil mark. Okay. So it was about at 2 1/8. So what you're going to do then is you're going to place this score mark on your cutter and the other line on the other end of the cutter. So you want these both in the cutting passage. So the first score is in the right up to that cutting, and this line is at the cutting part. Do the same thing to the other. Place this at the cutting part and then that first score mark at the cutting part. You can just turn it upside down if you want and just line up that like so. Okay. Then you're going to go back and erase that. So if you want to, you can bend this over if that helps you, just to kind of see where to line it up. Like so. Turn it over. No, I don't like that. I'm going to keep it open because I like more. See, I don't like that. I wanted it to be straight, so don't fold it in half first. So now I'm going to go ahead and burnish the score marks. What you'll do is, again, this won't be covered. You're going to place glue on the 1/2 inch strip and put it at the top of your page. You'll take the other one, put glue on the 1/2 inch strip, and glue it down to the bottom of the page. Now I do have a closure where I just punched out a circle and put a brad in it, and then that's how I did my closure. There are tutorials on how to do these. Like I said, I just have a hole punch or a circle punch, punched out a circle, and then put a brad through the center, put it onto my paper. I did it after I covered the front, but I had not yet covered the back. Actually, I can show you because I still haven't covered the back of this. So I decorated the front. I put my designer paper on. Then I put on this yellow piece and punched it through. So now I'm going to go back and put on my pattern paper to cover up that brad. Okay. It's weird being I already have the book done to be showing this. I hope it's not confusing. So that's what you need for the front cover and the back inside cover. Let's go to page 1. Let's do the base pages so that you can get those ready. Now normally when I make the book, I combine my pages to put on the hinge. This method, using the different way to wrap the chipboard, we're not going to put the book together until we're ready to put it on the hinge. So I'll show you, we're going to decorate these before they are attached. So for your base pages, you need 4 that measure 10 7/8 by 5 1/4, and 4 pages at 9 7/8 by 5 1/4. And again, we're not going to put these together. We're not going to attach the 2 pieces until we're ready to put them on the hinge. So let's go ahead and score the 10 7/8 pieces. Those get scored at 1/2 inch on each end. On all the 10 7/8 inch sides. Half on one end, then I flip it and I do 1/2 inch again on the other end. And one more, because we have a total of 4 pages in this book. Okay, I am going to go ahead and burnish those down and just show you. There's no burnishing or scoring on the 9 7/8 inch piece because it will get glued to this top of this piece eventually. So the piece that we did not score, you're going to eventually put this on the hinge, and then you will glue this piece on top like so. Okay, but we do that at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and keep burnishing. Like I said, this is not the artisan cardstock, so I'm not used to using this. It's not as easy to use. It's a little bit thicker, I think. And in my eyes, the artisan cardstock is perfect. The weight and the made out of the linen piece, you know, that makes it a little bit more durable in my eyes. So okay, so those are all done. So now we're going to get ready to decorate each of the front and back of the pages. So my front page ended up being, I need to wrap this up again so it doesn't get in the way. Sometimes when I do these closures, I put the, instead of just doing a circle, I do a piece of chipboard and cover it. And I think I might have done that with this, at least like cereal box material. Okay, so it has 2 flaps, and then it just opens to have a 3-page spread. Okay, and then these are magnetic to keep those closed. So that's what we're going to do first. So page 1. You can go ahead and cut, I'll give you the measurements for the front of page 1 and the back of page 1 so you can get all that ready at one time. The flaps, you need 2 of those at 1 1/8 by 4, and you're going to need 2 of the doors, so that's not 9 7/8 by 3 3/4. 2 of those. The back of the page 1, you're going to need 1 piece that measures 4 1/2 by 6 1/2, and then 4 that measure 5 by 6 1/2. Okay. Go ahead and either freeze that or write it down. So let's do the front first, now that I have my pieces. Now, because we have not put our pages together, sometimes you do have to think a little bit when you are putting your page together. So this is the front, and this is the one that has a 1/2 inch. Okay. And I am going to be attaching my book. This is the front page, so my hinge is actually going to be on the left. Okay, so if you want to write yourself a note, the hinge is on this side that it will be attached to. Okay, so what you need to do is take both of the pieces for the door that are 9 7/8 by 3 3/4, and you're just going to score at 1/2 inch on the 3 3/4 inch side, on this one, and on this one, just a 1/2 inch on one side. And then the closure, go ahead and score at 1/2 also on just one side. Go ahead and burnish. All of your score marks. And the last one here. Okay. Just to play it safe, let's go ahead and miter these on the 1/2 inch side. Let's just go ahead and do a slight miter. Okay. Let's glue it to our base page. So remember, the page, we're looking at it like it's in the book. So the hinge is over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to put adhesive on the 1/2 inch piece. I say that, come on glue. There we go. I'm going to turn this sideways. It's easier for me to adhere it that way. I want to watch the top, bottom, and sides to make sure it lines up nice and neat. Go ahead and open it up and burnish it. We're going to do the same thing with the other piece, but this time it will go on the other side. I'm probably not using the regular amount of glue that I would because this is just a demonstration. I'm not really using these pages. I don't make books without artisans, so okay. Burnish that down. So I'm going to have the left hand side on top, and I will be putting my closures. You can evenly space them. You can measure how far down you want. I went down about, what was it? About 2 inches from the bottom. So 2 inches from the bottom, go ahead and put adhesive on the 1/2 inch strip. And I'm using my mat measurements to go 2 inches. Same on the other end. I'm going to go down 2 inches. Okay. Now at this point you're going to want to put magnets on. So you will put a magnet here and here. You'll put the partner. Go ahead and keep the partner magnet on it, and then put it down and see where the magnet should meet on the other piece. Okay. And then you can put on your pattern paper. That is the front of page 1. Now, the back of page 1, you need the base page that we did not score. Okay, so here's the front. When you turn it over, this will eventually be on top. So we're just working with the piece that does not have any score marks. And that page is actually this one where you have the fold out. Okay. So the pieces you need were the 4.5 by 6.5 piece, and there were 4 that were 5 by 6.5. The one that measured 4.5 by 6.5 does not get any scoring. The 4 pieces that were 5 inches by 6.5, put the 5-inch side across the top and score at 1/2 inch on all 4 pieces, please. 5 inches at the top, score at 1/2. Let's go ahead and burnish those. Now there's different ways you can keep this from flapping open. I used magnets. You could also use a seam binding closure, like tie a bow, and I can show you that in a second. So what we're going to do now is take our 4.5 by 6.5, and we want to adhere one on top of the other. So on the 1/2 inch, I'm going to turn this sideways. I always do better gluing it sideways. Just go ahead and attach that to the base piece. Make sure it's lined up. Okay. Now I want to attach another 1/2 inch now to this opposite side. So it's the card is opening on the, it opens with the opening part on the right. So that's, I'm going to attach this to the right hand side. Again, I'm going to turn it towards me. Place it to the edge. Look at the top and the bottom to make sure it lines up well. Okay, so now it opens on the left hand side, so we're going to attach the next piece on the left hand side. So we're going every other side. And then finally we're going to attach the next one on the right hand side because it opens on the right. Make sure it's lined up real well. Okay, so there is the accordion. I actually want it to open this way. So now when you glue this to your base page, you can choose to just glue on 3 sides so that it's a pocket and you could slide something underneath. I did not do that. I glued the whole thing down flat. You can center it. You can put it off to one side. I put mine off to this on the very side just for something different. This one I'll go ahead and center. And like I said, if you want an opening on the back, just glue 3 sides. But I'm going to do the whole thing. And again, I'm not going to use as much glue because this is just a sample one. I'm just going to eyeball it in the center. Go ahead and burnish that. So I guess I should back up. If you wanted to have a seam binding closure, you could have put a piece of seam binding behind it so that you could tie it in the front. Like I said, I used magnets. I used 2 sets. Let me see. Don't remember. So I have a magnet here and there. 1, So I have a magnet that I put here so that it would stay here. So that represents where the magnets go. And then I wanted it not to flap open this way. So after I put a magnet here, I put one here, and I skipped a page and put it here. But my magnets are really strong, so it went through that layer. If you don't have strong enough magnets, you might have to put a couple more in, but mine were strong, so I just put one here and here. And I also put one, you know, if I were to do it again, if your magnets aren't strong, just do it on the back too. I did it on this one, and mine worked. So that's your fold out, and then you'll go back and mat it with your pattern paper. I had put some metal corners on the edge. Okay, so we have the front of page 1 and the back of page 1 done. So when we attach it to the hinge, page 1, and that's the back. Okay, let me take a drink of coffee real quick. Sorry. Let's start page 2. So this will be, we'll start with the front of page 2. So get the piece that has the 1/2 inch, the base page that has the 1/2 inch scores. The front of page 2 has 3 banners. Now I had dies that I used for those banners, but if you don't have dies, I give you the measurements for how wide each of them were. I had a banner that was 3 1/4 inches wide, one that was 2 1/4 inches wide, and then one that was 1 3/4 inches wide. Now you can cut them any length that you want. They should be varying lengths, but we are going to have to put a 1/2 inch score at the top to attach it to our book, so you can determine the length. So let me show you what that looks like. I attached 3 separate banners as a flap. Okay, so this was the 3 1/4 inch. This longer blue one was 2 1/4 inches wide, and this little one was 1 3/4. If you want to know lengths, my longest one was about 6 1/4. The next longest was about 5 3/4, and then my smallest was 3 1/4 long. Okay. There is a pocket on the front of page 2, which will need 4 by 6 1/4, one of those. The back page, you'll need one that measures 4 by 11 and one that measures 5 3/4 by 9 7/8. Okay, again, you can freeze or write this down, go back and rewind, whatever you need to do. Okay, so let's start with the, like I said, the banners, you're kind of on your own as to how long you want them. I gave you the widths. Let's go ahead and make the pocket. The pocket is the piece that measures 4 by 6 1/4. You're going to score it 1/2 on 3 sides. With the 6 1/4 inch side at the top, I'm going to start with a 1/2, rotate it, do a 1/2, rotate it, do a 1/2. Okay, let's go ahead and clip out those, miter out those corners where they overlap on the scoring at an angle on each side of the square. I'm going to do a slight taper at the top. Okay, the back of page 2 that we're going to work on also is a triangular page that opens with a fold up piece. Okay, so let's get those prepped. The paper that is, let's see, this one's 5 3/4, we don't want that one. I want the one that is 4 by 11. We're just gonna put the 11 inch side across the top and score at 5 1/2. That's for the little flap. The one that measures 5 3/4 by 9 7/8, go ahead and put the 5 3/4 inch piece across the top and score at 1/2. Okay. Let's do our burnishing. This one just goes in half. This one had the 1/2 inch score. Okay. So to get the triangular piece, I'm just going to place this in my trimmer. I'm going to put this on the edge that cuts, the end of the score, and the bottom piece in my score, or my cutter, and I'm going to trim it at an angle. Okay, so the top of this score is going to go in the cutting passage right at the very top, and then the bottom corner is also going to be on the cutting line. So you see we didn't cut any of that 1/2 inch. We went to the top of the 1/2 inch score down to the very bottom corner, and that becomes, this is extra now. So on our base page, this is the front that we're looking at. You want to adhere this like so. Now, watch the bottom corner. You don't want this to get bent. And if it's too long, you might want to trim it a hair. So as I look at this, this might get a little bent, this corner. Let me show you. I don't want it exactly to the, see that little piece that kind of hangs off the edge? I think I'm going to trim mine just a hair. So I'll put this back in, put that top, and I'm just going to move this a hair. And I just took off a little tiny sliver. So now when I put it on here, it will open and close without any interruption or any problem with it bending. So let's go ahead and glue this on. Turn it towards me again. Go ahead and open it and burnish it. Just make sure it's adhered real well. Okay, so there is your triangular opening. We do want to place the flap. You can eyeball it where you want it. I am going to put the top corner to match at the top of that triangle. So you're only going to want to put adhesive on part of the back. So about half. Actually, about like so. I gotta get rid of some glue. I put too much on. Okay, so now we have a flap open and a triangular door. You might want to cover the back of your paper first, because you don't want that plain. So you might want to put designer paper on the back before you adhere it to the triangular door. Otherwise you're going to see unless you go back and just put, I don't know, I don't think I'd like that. I would mat this first. Before adhering. Okay, then attach it. So that's the front of page 2. Now we're going to do the back. So for the back, you need to get another of the base pages that we did not score. The back page, oh, that was the back page. My bad. The front page is the banner, which is totally okay. So we're gonna, this is actually gonna be our back. So this will be the front. And it actually doesn't matter. If you want that for the front and this for the back, that's fine. But it's the banner piece. So you're gonna have your 1/2 inch. Let me just give you an example. So let's say my banner, let me just make this a little bit shorter. One of my banner pieces, I'm going to go ahead and score a 1/2 inch at the top, and I'm just doing this real rough here. Okay, so I have that 1/2 inch. You eyeball the center and snip up, then go from the corner to that center snip. And that's how you do your banner. Okay, now, and then you would attach that to the top. I believe, what did I do? I cut the banners out of designer paper and attached them. Then I put it onto a piece of the paper and then trimmed around the bottom of the banner. That's what I did. Does that make sense? So I cut out 3 designer pieces of paper, made them into banners. I did mat this one because this goes on the top. So then I attached these 2 together. Then I put them on my linen cardstock. And then I put this piece on top. And I actually have this one on some foam tape underneath. Okay, so that's why the back looks like it does. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so then we just need to adhere the pocket. That makes it hard to do, I think, after I've already made the book, but and if you don't want a banner flap, you can just do a regular flap. Okay, let's go ahead and adhere this pocket. Put glue on your 1/2 inch folds. Tuck in the 2 sides, bring up the bottom. This goes on the very bottom. Okay, and then you would have the banner flap. So we have page 2 done. Grab page 3. It's got the 1/2 inch score marks at the top and the bottom. Okay. Page 3 on the front is a long flap with a decorative bottom, and when you lift it up, you have this. I didn't make a pocket. I just put some of the designer paper to make a pocket. I didn't fold any cardstock. We have a double layer pocket, and this goes all the way down this second pocket. I'm running out of camera space. Hold on. So here's the second pocket, and it goes all the way to the bottom. So that's what we'll do next. Page 3. Okay, here are the measurements for page 3. You'll need one piece that's 5 1/4 by 10 1/4. Now, if you're not going to do a decorative punch on the bottom or a border on the bottom, you may not want it to be 10 1/4. You might want it to be a little bit shorter. It's up to you. One piece that's 6 1/4 by 5 1/2, one piece that's 6 1/4 by 3 1/2. Let's go ahead and cut the back for page 3. While we're cutting, you're going to need one that's 4 1/2 by 8 and 4 that are 4 1/2 by 6 1/2, and that's for a waterfall. Okay, here we go. So the longest piece with that was 5 1/4 by 10 1/4. Place the 10 1/4 inch side up at the top and score at 1/2. I went ahead and did a decorative cutout at the bottom, and I just matted the top part then. So you can decide, maybe you just want to round the corners, maybe, you know, if you have some of these, you could do it this way instead, if you like that. Maybe you want to do a scallop. It's up to you how you want to do the bottom. I liked the fancier one, and I had some dies that I used. I'll go ahead and burnish this. Okay. So let's take the 6 1/4 and place that on the top. Is that right? Let me double check. Yep, 6 1/4. And on this one, we're going to score at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. Okay. So we started at 6 1/4, did a half, turned it 1 turn, did a half, did 1 turn, did a half. You can go ahead and cut out the bottom corners, slightly taper the top. If you want a thumb hole, you want to put pattern paper on first and then go through and do your thumb hole with a circle punch. Okay, but you do that after you put on the pattern paper. It's kind of hard to get the thumb hole correct if you don't have the designer paper on first. Okay, so that's up to you if you want that. Now the next piece is a little bit different. This is just going to be scored. Go ahead and put your 6 1/4 inches at the top. I want you to score it a half on each end of the 6 1/4 inch side. Then I'm going to have you turn it to the 3 1/2 inch side. And what I want you to do is to go to the 2 1/2. Is that what I did? Hold on. Let me double check. I went up one. Yep. So at the 2 1/2 inch mark, I want you to put a little score to that score line. So it's just a 1/2 inch long score at 2 1/2. Like so. We're going to do the same on the other side. I want you to go do just do a little score mark at the 1 inch and just to the score mark, like so. So here's how we're going to cut this. You cut on that score mark to the score, and then I want you to angle it like that. Other side, cut on the score to that 1/2 inch score, angle it like so. Get your base page. Oh, let's go ahead and burnish. Again, if you want a thumb hole, you're going to want to put your pattern paper on first. I don't give the measurements for the pattern paper, you guys. It's just some people like an 1/8 inch smaller, some people like a 1/4 inch smaller. For the length of the video, using your own ideas and creativity, I just do the base pages. So after you have the pattern paper on, you can come through and punch out your thumb hole. So it's easier to get the papers in and out. So I have the base page with the scoring at the top and the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and place the flap down first. Put down, make sure it got it even. Okay, so the flap goes towards the top. Now the bottom, let's go ahead and get our pockets ready by burnishing. There's only two things to burnish on this one. Okay, so the first one pocket is the long one, and we're going to adhere that to the bottom like so. So go ahead and put your adhesive on. Pinch in the two sides first, bring up the bottom. Burnish that in. So now this piece, you only put adhesive on the 1/2 inch sides here, and that's going to go down inside of this pocket, and it will automatically stop where it needs to stop because we cut out that 1/2 inch, or that 1 inch side. Okay, so that's what gives you the pocket, the deep pocket all the way to the bottom. Slide it underneath. Line it up on both sides. Okay, and there's your double pocket. This one goes all the way down to the bottom. Now your mats, you can make any size you want. If I have a 5 1/4 inch width of a page, I would probably do about a 5 inch wide tag, and then as long as you want them. Okay, so that's your front. To do the back, it's a waterfall. Go ahead, you'll need a plain base that we did not score. You're going to need the pieces for the waterfall, which was I like to put my waterfall on a base piece and then adhere it. So this one is, where's page 3, measurements? Fred. I don't know where I put that stick. Oh, right from my face. So the 4 1/2 by 8 is your base piece. The pieces that were 4 1/2 by 6 1/2, we're going to score those at 1/2 inch on the 6 1/2 inch side. So score all 4 of them at 1/2, and that's with the 6 1/2 inch side across the top. These you do not miter when we've burnished them on the score. We're not going to miter anything. Now you might choose to have a decorative bottom if you want to corner around them. If you want to go back and get your punches, maybe you want to do all the corners like so, you can. Okay. Sorry, I keep bumping my camera. Let's burnish. You do want a nice burnish on waterfalls so that they lay as flat as possible. Now I closed mine with a piece of seam binding, so you would adhere the seam binding to the bottom of the base before you put it on your page. So all right, I'm going to take off I use my scoreboard as a guide to line up my pages for the waterfall. So I pushed it all the way over, starting with the top piece, we're going to lay that at the top like so. So let's go ahead and put adhesive on our 1/2 inch strip. And using your scoreboard as a guide, it's easier for me, I think, to put it on and have it straight. If you have any overhang, you do want to trim it though. So like I can see just a little bit of overhang. So I'm just going to trim that off. So now placing that back on your scoreboard, you're going to take the next piece and butt it up against that 1/2 inch piece that we glued down. Okay. So I am going to put adhesive on. This is all the way on the side of my scoreboard. I bump it right up to that next piece, push down, lift up and burnish. If you see any overhang, and I see just a hair each time, I'm just going to trim that tiny, like it's, you probably don't even see it, but I do. Okay. Go back and keep burnishing that down real well. Okay, we have 2 more to adhere. Line it up against the side and the edge of, or the bottom of that 1/2 inch piece that we had glued on the previous one. Lift up and burnish. Now that one I don't see any overhang. I'm going to go through and just burnish again just to make sure it's laying as flat as possible. And then we have 1 more piece to adhere. Burnish, and I do have a little clip I want to make. Okay, so there's your waterfall. Now when you attach it to the page, again, you can decide if you want it centered. I would center this. I had a tie closure, so what you need to do is take a piece of seam binding or ribbon or whatever it is you're going to use, and you're going to want to glue it to the back. Bring it around and tie it. So just put glue on the back and lay your piece of seam binding on. Then you can attach it to the page and it will be a tie closure. Okay, so again, you can decide just to glue on 3 sides so that you have a pocket, especially if you want to put the waterfall down low and then have a tag coming out the top. I am going to center mine, pretending I have a piece of seam binding glued down already. I would put a lot of glue on this piece if I was really doing a page I was going to use, but these, like I said, this is just a practice piece. And then I would just lift each page and burnish. You can choose to do the, you know, like a magnetic closure. Okay, so there's that. So now we have page 3 completed. This was the front with the long flap and the double pockets. This would be the back piece. Okay, we are ready for page 4. Page 4 on the front. Okay, so when I originally made this, I forgot to put magnets to keep my flaps down. So you might want to do yours differently than I did. So I had put these on. I still have to cover this so you don't see the magnet, but this has a pocket with a mat in it. I'm going to have to freeze just for a second. Okay, I had to pause for a phone call. So I don't remember what I was saying except for that when I, there's going to be a long pocket with a mat, and then when I made these 2 flaps, I forgot to put magnets on, and so that's why I made this. And like I said, I'm not done. I don't like to have magnets showing. I will go back and cover these, but I'm using this as a closure. And you can do this too if you forget, if you ever forget to put some sort of closure, there's usually a fix for it. So anyway, all you do for this piece is I just cut, well, let me give you the measurements. I don't think I've done that yet. So this is the front. Let me go ahead and put this on. And then the back is kind of a 3D page. Okay. So that's the last page. I don't know if I've given you the measurements, but if not, here they are. Got distracted by the phone. So the front page, you're going to need a piece that's 3 by 10 and 7/8. That's going to be for the long pocket. You're going to need 2 that are 4 and 7/8 by 4 and 3/4. That's for the 2 tag flaps. And then 2 that are 3 by 3, and that's if you want that kind of closure. The back page, you're going to need 1 that's 4 1/4 by 11, 1 piece that's a 1 inch by 11.5 inch strip, and then 4 pieces that are 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. So there's that. Okay. Let's go with, for the closure, if you're doing it this way, all you would do is put your pattern paper on. I ended up raising a piece on top just to give it some dimension. I put magnets on opposite corners, leaving the 2 magnets together on each corner and putting adhesive. You then put it on top of the other one and pinch down and then separate them so that they line up exactly right. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the 4 7/8 is what goes at the, let's see, is that right? No. You want the 4 1/2 inch side. Let me double check. I don't want to tell you wrong. Yeah. The 4 1/2 inch side goes at the top. Score it a half. 4 1/2 inch side. Score it a half. I wanted these to kind of look like tags. So I angled my corners with just that. Okay. Let's go ahead and burnish these. And then these will be on the side here. What am I missing? The pocket. Where did I put that piece? Did I cut it? My 3 by... I don't know if I see it. I'll just have to... Darn it. Well, here, the base page with the 1/2 inch. We need a piece that was 3 by 10 and 7/8. 3 by 10 and 7/8. Shoot. I don't know what I did with it. Guess I need to cut a piece that's 3 by 10 and 7/8. I know I had it. I just don't know what I did with it. Alright, I'm going to end up doing a different color just because I don't want to cut into... Okay, I'm going to use yellow. So I know I had it too. That's what irritates me. Okay, so this was... I'm just going to cut this right here. 10 and 7/8. And 3 inches. I wonder if I accidentally threw it away. Okay. This is that small side pocket. So with the 3 inch side, at the top, go ahead and score it. Score it at 1/2, and then you're going to do 2 1/2 inch on the long side. So on the 10 7/8 inch side, do 1/2 on each end. Let's go ahead and cut out the corner pieces at an angle, miter them, slight taper at the top. Okay. Here's my base page. I'm going to go ahead and burnish pocket score marks. Okay, when you're looking at the page, the pocket goes on the left-hand side. Oh, my glue's been sitting out. There we go. Okay, I'm going to turn this sideways. It's just easier for me. I tuck in the 2 sides, bring up the bottom, go to the very edge, watch the top and the bottom. Okay, I don't think I measured this piece right. Well, pretend like I did. It's a little bit longer than it should be. I probably cut it wrong because I couldn't find the original piece. Yeah, that's too long. And then you're just going to take these 2 pieces and put them on the right hand side. Now if you want, if you're worried that you're going to have some overlap, you can trim it a little bit. Okay, you should have just a tiny space in between the 2. You don't want them to overlap. Turn this sideways. I'm going to go as far down as I can. And then do the other one. Go as far to the top as you can so that you have that little bit of space in the middle. And it's a really small space. I'll show you mine just a second. See how tiny that space is in between? And then that's where you would put your magnetic closure. If you don't want it, then you would put a magnet. This is kind of a short pocket, but you would put a magnet here and then put the match on the pocket. Okay, that's the front. Now the back. Okay, so with your 11.5 piece, this one measured 11 by 4 1/4. You're going to score it right in half, so half of 11. We got 5.5 here. Now this piece is kind of, we have to work with it while we're putting it together. So we might have to do some adjusting. So for this one, let me find my directions. We are going to score at 2 3/4, 5.5, 8 1/4. Let me say that again. It was 2 3/4, 5.5, 8 1/4. Okay. So let's go ahead and do some burnishing and then we'll put it together. Okay, half of 11, 5.5. Did I not score that in the right spot? No, I did 6. I should have done 5.5. I'm getting all frazzled. Okay, let's try that. Okay, I still don't have it right. Is this piece? Oh, how long did I cut this? 11.5. Oh, it was 11.5. No, I have it cut wrong. It should have been 11.5. Anyway, I'm just gonna fold. Reynolds. Let me get this ready. It should have been 11 inches long. And mine is not 11 inches long. Is this 4 1/4? Yeah. Finally. Okay, sorry about that. Pretend like there's not an extra score mark there, okay? Okay. All right, so this 1-inch strip, we're going to open up our card and we're going to fold it in half at that 5.5-inch mark, okay? Then we're going to fold the other 2 pieces up. So it's going to look like a W, okay? Now I want to place that 1/2-inch mark on the fold so that I know where to glue this down. We're going to do the short piece first, okay? Because one of the sides we're going to trim. So I have this at the halfway mark. The inch strip is in the fold. You only glue this bottom section down though. So I'm going to hold that like so. I'm going to eyeball it, make sure it's in the center. I'm going to fold this little piece up and I'm going to put adhesive on it. Now let me back up. You need to put your pattern paper on first. Sorry. Put your pattern paper on first, then put this strip on. Okay. Now we want to trim to make sure so I'm going to trim this. Okay. Fold that little piece up. Put adhesive on it. Fold it down. So now when you open it, you've got that middle section that was not adhered down. Go ahead and close it and just burnish real well just so that it stays nice and closed. Again, I just want to repeat because I was screwing up. You would put pattern paper on before this 1-inch strip. So now you have 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inch squares. You have 4 of them. You are going to glue them, one on the top, one at the bottom, one here, and one here. Okay. And then you will glue it to your book. So let me do this real quick. I would totally decorate it before I adhered it just because I think it'll be easier. I just put glue on this part to make sure I get it in the right spot. And last one. And there you go, voila. Okay. Get your base page, the one that does not have the 1/2-inch pieces. And I just put mine in the center. Actually, I think I put mine more to the top so that I could put like a piece here that I could journal on or something. I put a sticker down here, so I'm going to put mine more towards the top. Once again, if you glue it on 3 sides, that leaves it open for a tag at the top. If you glue the whole thing, obviously you don't have that tag. This stayed closed. I did not need to add any kind of magnets to it. There you go. And then, like I said, let me show you. I have some pearls here that kind of weight it down too, but see, I have just a little, just add a little decoration at the bottom. Okay, so we have all of our pages done, and now it's a matter of attaching it to the hinge. So this is where it's going to be tricky for me because I already have my book made and I don't want to have to make a new hinge. Let me see if I can find something to show you how to attach it. Now your hinge is already in your book. Okay, you should have already attached the hinge to your book. So let me find something that I can use as a way to show you. You know what, I'm just going to get a piece of chipboard and pretend like that's a hinge. Sorry, this is not the best way to show you. Okay, so let's say that this is a hinge. That's way too big, but hold on. Okay, let's say this is a hinge. This is what you do. You are going to place, let me get page 1. So here is page 1. You're going to place the hinge, and yours is only going to be a 1/2 inch, and it's going to be all the way to the edge here, like so. You're going to place glue on your hinge because yours won't be this thick. Okay, this is lame, sorry. Give me a second. I should just make a hinge to show you, but I just don't have the... Okay, so if this is the hinge, you are going to place glue here all the way down, and then you bring your page, you turn your hinge over so that it attaches to your page, like so. Then you're going to put a little bit of glue here so that stays down, and same way at the bottom. Again, pretend like the hinge is all the way to the bottom. Sorry. Okay. And you put a little glue here. Attach it to the hinge so that little piece stays down. Then you get the other side, the back page. Okay, so here's the other one. You're just going to glue that on top of this. So you're going to put glue on the 1/2 inch pieces, and I'm leaving mine open so that you can put a tag in the side. If you don't need a tag, you can put glue on the whole thing. And then you place the top piece like so. And that's how you attach it to the hinge. And if you need more direction, if you look, if that's clear as mud, Country Craft Creations YouTube channel, there it shows you how to make this cover and the binding. Want me to show you one more time? Just rewind, watch it again. So here is your hinge. First thing you do is you put glue, it's sticking straight up. You put glue on one side, fold it over onto the page. Burnish it, put a little glue on your 1/2 inch to keep it down. Then you get the other page and put it on top. Okay? Okay, I hope that was good enough explanation for you. That's all I'm going to show you with the construction of the pages. Let me do a quick walkthrough again, just so you can see what your book can look like once it's decorated. Let me zoom out so you can get the whole book in. Front cover. This undoes, so you can put a little booklet, and I'm still going to decorate this. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done decorating it. The magnetic closure, trifold for like 3 panels for pictures. This is the accordion fold out. Banner top flap. Pocket page. The book lays way more flat than it did the other style. I still have a lot of embellishments, so it's not all the way flat. This is a fold up. I did go ahead and add seam binding as a tie closure. This is a triangular page that you can open up. This is a flap that opens up. I just used designer the paper to make a little pocket. Here's our double pocket. The waterfall with the seam binding closure. The double pages with the magnetic fix for the closure. Pocket. Oops, sorry. Ooh. And then the flip up and the back pocket page. Okay. All right. If you have questions, leave them down below in the description box. Again, if you have more questions about the way to wrap the chipboard differently, go to Country Craft Creations. I'll see if I can find the link and put it in the description box below. But let me know if you have questions, comments, what have you. Most of the supplies I use came from countrycraftcreations.com, and I will be decorating that little traveler's notebook for the inside, and I'll probably be making a tag also using this line of paper. So I really appreciate you watching. Have a great day.